And he had the option to pick it in game 1 if he really wanted to.
Right.
But I think that there was a mindset that RvL had. Is like, okay, we're going to allow Coviiii to get it and use that as our own advantage to kind of bully him out this time around. They wanted to get it before the secondary ban phase. So it could be another reoccurring theme we see here in the final game of this best-of-3 set.
I think so. I think there were a lot of mind games in this picks and bans in game 2, right? Because the Janus goes very far through until he gets banned in the second ban phase. Initially, it seemed as though RvL were trying to get Astral to pick it if they could. Perhaps they had a counterplay strategy. In the end, Astral the ones that ended up banning it themselves.
And Astral, they need to figure out a way to get back into this set. Even though it's tied 1-1, anything can happen here in game 3. But they looked a little shaky in game number 1, and even more shaky in game number 2. I think RvL, they definitely have the edge in this final game.
I agree with you totally. I know it's 1-1, but doesn't it just feel like RvL have won 2 games and just let one slip away? So as they come here into game 3, Astral are the ones who need to find their footing. And as the bans that we've seen from them all set long return again, this Raven has been the first ban from them. They banned Cerberus in the second spot every time. Meanwhile, RvL has done Odin, Achilles every time.
And Astral, with the loss, has their choice of pick, going for a first pick, whereas RvL, after losing game number 1, went for the second pick.
They've been first pick all 3 games.
Both teams getting really what they want during picks and bans.
That's right. They're in very similar positions, so that's part of why they haven't had to make any adjustments. But right when I say that, there is the adjustment. Terra, who's been selected first by Astral, I believe, every time, has now actually been banned by them, even though they're first pick.
Wow.
Which means they just don't want it. They want the Cerberus instead. So they're just kind of flexing. Whichever one they want, they could take.
A lot of that magical protection shred is the idea that Astral wants to get off the ground against RvL, not electing to go for that high mobility Janus quite yet, having a lot of options still left open for themselves, considering that Cerberus can easily flex between that support or the solo lane position. And up against Wolves there, specifically Predators, could easily play this guy and punish him, force him to go into magical defense, and then allow some of these counter rotations from Rapio to bully him out.
Now, do you like the Cerberus over the Terra? I mean, the Earth and Fury is so strong. It's part of what won them game 1, and Bobby's looked good on it. He did get caught out a few times in game 2, yes, but for the most part, he's looked so strong on it this set.
Well, I guess they could have banned out Cerberus if they really wanted to, left Terra open for themselves, which would allow maybe RvL to reassess how they want to go about picks and bans, because then they could have potentially left Odin or Achilles open. But I think they're very content with just allowing the Terra to go banned away by themselves, pick up the Cerberus, have this kind of CC AoE control. Yes, Earth and Fury is solid in terms of swinging team fights for mitigating damage, getting heals for yourself, but man, that Stygian Torment, so powerful.
Janus, Athena going to be the first 2 picks here for RvL. And it's hard to think of 2 stronger ones that they could have gotten for themselves. It's a ton of global presence between these 2. The Defender of Olympus gets you across the whole map, as does Through Space and Time. The damage from Janus sometimes can be a little bit inconsistent as opposed to some other mages, kind of in the ultimate areas where I'm thinking of, as Unstable Vortex certainly hits hard. So we'll see how well RvL can pair that with another consistent damage source.
Dodgy picked very early this time. They're not going to allow that to go into Rapio's hands. Layers wanting that for themselves. We saw what he was able to do with it in game number 1. We saw what Rapio was able to do with it in game number 2. So could be in Astral's favor now that it's locked in here in game 3.
Yeah, that Dodgy looked incredibly strong for them. It's part of why that Zeus pick really worked so well, is because they kind of were just bringing the kills to him. So we'll see what 50-meter Fly is able to get done in this game without all the setup. But I love this Kumbhakarna pick. I was thinking that Cerberus might not be for Bobby, and that the reason they banned the Terra is it flexes him to go pick something else. And that pick appears to be the Kumbhakarna.
It could still go into the solo lane if Wolves really wants to. He's known to really flex his guns, picking the Odin, picking the Loki, playing any warrior. And that's always a scary factor in a team where they have so many flex opportunities. Brochacho back in the day definitely had a lot of flexibility. I'm not sure what exactly INbound's God Pool is, but I'm sure at this level he can certainly pilot the Kuma and the Cerberus at the highest of levels.
Batz comes in for RvL, and that's been banned both games so far in the second ban phase. I think in game 1 it was by RvL, in game 2, or rather the game 1 by Astral, and game 2 by RvL. So this time RvL elect to pick that one for themselves. So a huge team fighting ultimate. Donji might pull him to you, but Batz can be just as devastating in a fight, if not more, with all that control.
With the next ban, or the next pick going to RvL's way, they're going to start stripping away some mid-mages now that they have the Janus selected for themselves. Taking away the Ra, a very safe pick, and with a lot of easy setup, though, for the Kumbhakarna. So I wouldn't be surprised if they even take away potentially a Scylla or the Cuckoo Clan.
It's an absurd amount of control, isn't it? Between the dodgy Powwow, the Stygian Torment, which you already highlighted, and then the Mez, the ultimate from Kumbhakarna as well, the Root. So yeah, a big mage ult certainly fits in perfectly with this Astral composition. So Rival take the Raijin, the Ra off the board. They already have the Janus for themselves to try and limit some of Astral's options in that regard. Meanwhile, Astral are going to ban out Kukulin and Sobek.
They already have all three frontliners, so taking away, though, the Kukulin and the Sobek makes a lot of sense. The Athena and the Sobek paired up together is just accumulation for nightmares, to be honest.
No, it's scary.
Between the taunts and the plucks, you're almost not even able to play the game against those two gods specifically. But Rival with the next pick still need their Hunter, taking a safe approach with the Jing Wei. And this is more targeted at Coviiii, considering that he wants to play passive, wants to farm and avoid team fighting, or boxing rather. So this is Vaporish Coast taking that option away from him, but still probably look to play aggressive, which is outside of Jing Wei's playstyle.
Habois going to be the selection for Astral. And then the Cupid. So Cupid very strong. Yes, of course, we'll have plenty of time to talk about the control he provides. But Habois going to pair very, very well with this control that they already have. A lot of the time, he doesn't even need it. He sets up so well for himself. I think he'll have a plenty easy time getting damage off here.
It's a lot of burst damage, but Habois has to get a little too close to the thick of things.
He can get close, yeah.
Against the Hun Batz, that's going to be really dicey. Janus can easily, save certain teammates if the portal is right next to the wall, so that could be a nice factor that Rival can avoid the Habois. And Threshold is really annoying to deal with, considering that it slows the opposition, but you put a carpet over the Threshold, now the rest of your teammates can really chase down the opposition, or at least get away.
I'm really curious how the spacing is going to work as Rival highlight the Aphrodite. I mean, do they want INbowned to die for the Habois? Do they want Habois to come in and have him sort of counter-initiate? As Rival hovers here, how do you expect that sort of initiation or spacing to work out?
I think Astral has any option they want because all three of their frontliners also have a lot of damage. So Habois can be playing cleanup if he really wants to, or he could be that initiator with the Blink. Oboronic can go in and look for that Blink, Water Cannon, ultimate combination, and allow somebody to clean up. But Aphrodite is being locked in. Rival wanting to extend these team fights for as long as possible and mitigate a lot of the damage that Habois is bringing to the table.
This is very interesting, though. I mean, Rival have a safe composition with the Janus, Athena, Jing Wei. They have a very strong late game with the Aphrodite here now as well, totally. At what point of the game are Rival trying to... Like, when do you think this Rival comp is strongest in the game?
Probably... Even level 20 is solid. I think that they're going to get to their stride around that level 14 to 15 mark. That's when the 5-on-5 grouping is going to have to happen for Rival to start taking advantage of this Aphrodite. I think that if Astral want to get the edge over the European squads, they need Oboronic to go off, and they need Coviiii not to struggle against Vaporish Coast.
Those are going to be the focal points, at least for us here on the desk. How well can Coviiii do against Vaporish Coast, and can Oboronic carry like we know he can? Casters, let's find the answer.
I think Totally really nailed it. Those are two things that have to happen. I think they are on two ends of the reality spectrum, though. Oboronic stepping up, I think, is a given, and Coviiii not having problems with the Vaporish Coast, I think, is the opposite of a given. Now, Coviiii can actually dance and fight with it, but he will have problems, and I don't think that there's really a question there.
Man, like, the Cupid pick makes a lot of sense, right? Like, there's so many dashes, so many things you want to cripple out. It works beautifully with Kumbha. Works great with G instead of the Lightning Storm. It's Fields of Love. But it's still Cupid. Like, you still have to play Cupid in order to get that synergy there, and I know that you and I are polar opposites here. No matter how often we don't see a god, no matter how rarely they come out, as soon as you see them, like, yeah, that's a great pick. But Tom, there's a reason we don't see Cupid when there's 5 dashes on the enemy team. It's because there's so many answers to Fields of Love where you just don't worry about it. Outside of that, Cupid doesn't really bring a whole lot. It's risky. I get it.
It is risky.
But it's risky.
It is risky, but it makes a ton of sense. And at the end of the day, you know, it was very interesting. You were talking about Coviiii traditionally being a support mid laner, and then going over to the hunter role and the big question was, listen, how can he be a support hunter? That doesn't really work out. And here on the Cupid, this is exactly how he does so. He's going to be able to heal up a little bit by way of the hearts. The control is really why this selection is here. Control everybody with the big cripple field. And then Boronic can do the heavy lifting. The jungler can do the heavy lifting. I'm all about it, man. I like this.
You're right, but at the end of the day, you're still Cupid.
Fine.
And Cupid has had a lot of struggles at the competitive level. I think that he brings a lot in certain team compositions, and this is the type of composition you want to play him into.
Yeah.
But the problem with Cupid always has been and always will be, specifically since you started getting relics for free. Before, when you had to invest into Sprint 2, pay that 600 gold, and then only you could get out of Cupid ult very quickly. Take a look at DineOhSaw's relic right now.
Sprint.
That's a get out of jail free card in response to Fields of Love. Not just for him. If it was only for him, sure, you're trading your ult for one person's I'm saving my life button, and that's fine. We see it all the time in competitive play. But when it's one relic for your entire team to then ignore an ultimate that you're relying on to control a team fight, you're going to have a problem potentially.
It's also, it is a relic tax. A slight one, because only one person has to pick it up, but it is a relic tax.
Oh, no, you mean I have to pick up Sprint at level 1? I never would have done that otherwise.
All right,
How
Mr.
horrible.
Sassy. Mr. Sassy over here. Boronic is, I think, the shining star of this team. Boronic was playing Hebo before it was cool, and he crushed on it before it was considered good. And here, Hebo, a center of the meta right now, so to speak, and Boronic has it in his hands. This is a great look.
I agree with that, but at the same time, I like the response from Predators to pick up the Aphrodite. Aphro can nullify a lot of that Hebo burst off that knock up an ultimate combo. That change that Aphro received a couple patches ago, where now she can use Undying Love while she is knocked up.
Huge.
Great against not only Boronic, but against the Cerberus as well. So that's something to keep an eye on.
Trouble on the right side, left side. INbowned has to pop that sprint to get on out of here. And meanwhile, Team RvL going to do the same thing. INbowned barely alive. Coviiii, similar scenario. A lot of tools RvL has to deal with Astral Authority, but Astral Authority are going to be the preemptive strikers, and that in and of itself can be a bad thing.
And it's where I don't
for Team RvL, I mean.
Yes, and where I don't like the Cupid pick so much for Astral Authority. I love this Cerberus pick. Cerberus seems to be a little bit more heavily prioritized by the console players than the PC side. We didn't see a whole lot of that at LAN, but overall, I think that picking Aphro into Cerberus is a risky call, because Cerberus has that innate anti-heal just as part of his passive. It doesn't even have to hit you with anything like, say, a Sobek or Kumbhakarna or Bacchus has to. And not only is he anti-healing you, but he's receiving some of that healing at the same time. Surprised the Predators is still willing to pick that, despite how good the Aphro is against the Hebo.
Yeah, the Aphrodite, I think, is so much less about the healing from Lovebirds and so much more about the ultimate, getting you out of what Coviii's doing, Boronic most importantly, and Wolves secondarily, perhaps. And also the back off. Back off is really why we see Aphrodite in the pro level meta. The ability to combine Soul Reaver with assassin damage. You're going to see Predators tag up with Rapio or maybe even Vape later on, and they're going to go ahead and get on that backline and hit with their stuff plus the back off Soul Reaver combo. Players just die. That's really why you see it. So that ultimate also coming into play here versus Boronic and Wolves and everybody this is a nice pick from Team RvL. I really, really, really like RvL's draft in earnest.
But at the same time, look at what Astral has done so far. It was Layers going over to the blue buff right away, denying that from Predators. And even though Predators is able to get enough mana sustain just through the Warrior's Blessing and using his mana efficiently, doesn't bother him too much there. It's just keeping him down in farm. That's the important part. It's making Rapio come over to this right-hand side and help him out a little bit, take more farm away from this Aphro.
Yeah, Aphro not expected to really have dominance of this solo lane whatsoever. You can see building into that tanky build that we've seen Aphros so often flex to. Nice. Blue buff will be secured for the Aphrodite, so she'll be able to have a little bit more help there. Stunned out, though. Wolves has to jump over the minions. He'll be fine.
Wolves did miss a couple archers there on that right-hand side, though, and didn't really get a whole lot out of that threat of an invade. If Layers is there, then that's a great opportunity to position that way, but I think Wolves kind of hurts himself more than he hurts the opposition in that spot by giving up a couple minions from the wave instead of just trying to go there, farm it, push underneath the tower, keep Predators away from those minions. Predators got the entire wave and the blue buff XP in that spot.
So now the Cupid and the Kumbhakarna is one of the more classic ones, although we're not seeing INbowned really go for it. I love the interaction here where Cupid can heart bomb a minion, and INbowned can belly bump it to the back line, which is actually really fun. Hopefully we'll be able to get to see that, because I think that's a really, it's fun, but I think it's also important and a really useful interaction as well.
Gives you a ranged stun in that dual lane at times if you use it at the right opportunities. But even without that cute little combo, it's just a kill lane. You've got so much opportunity. Root into Heart Bomb, into Fields of Love is kill potential just about every time. So once these two hit level 5 is where I expect they'll start to play a bit more aggressive for the kills instead of just trying to clear the wave efficiently.
Oboronic level 5 already, as is his direct opposition. Fly actually level 6, a little bit more proficient there as far as the laning phase is concerned. And Oboronic, now that he's level 5, should be looking to make some transitions, although an interesting start here. Going directly for the Bancroft rush is usually the jungle Hebo build that we see, but here, Oboronic taking it into the mid lane.
This is the build that Paul prefers to do in the minor league for Anxiety Onset, the undefeated NA team who really had their way with the minor league in both North America and Europe during the spring split. It just, one of the ways that you can play around Hebo in the early game is that you can kill him before he can do enough damage to really kill you early, and Bancroft prevents that weakness in the earlier stages.
Predator's ultimate on cooldown does not have the beads, and so he'll get blown up. Predator's using the ultimate mid-air, that interaction we were talking about, the recent change. But once that's down, I mean, easy peasy. Just Layers comes over and makes use of the ult.
And this is what you have to do against the Aphrodite in the solo lane. Punish it early, because eventually you will no longer be able to punish it, and it will win their team the game. It is that level of strength in the late game team fights, and it's very difficult to play around. So Layers coming over, Wolves, 30 seconds ahead of what's actually happening in game. Get the beads, get the ultimate, whatever you got to do, and then allow your jungler to come over and take advantage of that, and Layers did so beautifully.
And it's that type of thought process that elevated Wolves to the point where people were calling him easily the best player in the world on console, and things have changed for sure. I think that, one, that conversation is thicker, and I think Wolves is a little bit more closer to earth than he has been in the past. But that mentality, that thought process that I'm playing three-dimensional chess while y'all playing Connect 4, that's really what Wolves is known for, and his dominance over there in the past has shown. Hopefully for him and his fans, he can continue to do so here at the Spring LAN.
Connect 4 is a hard game, all right? I don't want to see any more trash talk about Connect 4.
You and Rajon Rondo just out there playing Connect 4, is that it?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what we do. We hang out a lot, so we got to have something to pass the time.
I figured. You seem like a Boston guy.
Yeah, Boston's a cool city. I like Boston.
1 kill on the board. And it's all Astrals. That really bothered me, by the way.
New York's a cool city, too. What do you mean? I'm supposed to just hate Boston because you like New York?
Yes. Astral Authority, game number 1. Eesh, it was really interesting, this series. Game number 1 was just barely Astrals. That's the VOD you go back and watch. Game number 2 was a little bit more T-Rival, the way they wanted it to end. And so we find ourselves in the final game of a 3-game set. And this one is anybody's game for my money. The way game number 1 and 2 went, do not tell me who wins game number 3.
Oh, that through space of time comes through. That's going to put Fly in the range to help out on this engagement, but it's a little bit off the mark. Layers has to go up into that powwow. Now it's a 4-on-2 on this right-hand side. Layers pulls 3, and that gives him an escape route for the moment. Wolves blocks the dash off from DineOhSaw to stop the taunt from coming in, and delivers DineOhSaw right into the hands of the rest of his team. Amazing play from Wolves.
Predator's in trouble, but he's able to get the kill on Oboronic with the back off after the fact. There's a little bit more trouble for INbowned. He's behind enemy lines in that sleepy time passive, and Wolves can try as he might, but 50-meter Fly will be the one picking up the life of Bob E. So Oboronic and INbowned fall down. No one on Team Rival eats it, and it's a 2 for none.
Man, that play from Wolves is so good, though. It almost ends up being a huge play for Astral Authority, but Oboronic, a little bit too gung-ho on the ultimate. Needs to wait a little bit longer to make sure that the offensive cooldowns from Rival aren't available to kill him in that spot. He gets blown up from half HP, and that's the danger of the Bancroft's rush, is that once you're in, and you've got no way out. unless you're walking out of the arena bloodied and the victor or your opponent is taking you out like RvL did there.
Well, I don't mind. I'm not a big fan of the Warlock staff on Hebo, honestly. He's very susceptible to death, very similar to the Zeus, who I was talking about how much I loved the Warlock staff on Hebo. But Hebo is a character that is either alive or dead. This Bancroft Talisman is so much less about the passive and so much more about just fast 100 power, plus some a little bit more, right? Because you jump on Hebo, he either kills you or he dies, similar to the Zeus. But the Zeus is going to dance in his ultimate and wait for that detonate. Oboronic either kills you with the 3-1-4 or he dies. So Hebo is a binary character. He's alive or he's dead. So investing in 300 extra HP doesn't really do it for me.
It's a fair point. And in Predator's build, as much as we like Oboronics, Predator's build saves him in that situation because he rushed that Heartward Amulet as quickly as possible. But that means that Layers is able to come over here and exert some pressure because he knows that Predators has no physical defense.
Jumping away this time is Rapio, but he's got DineOhSaw in tow by way of the ultimate. Here comes everything. Fear No Evil chases out Layers' ultimate. Inbound, going to get hit by 50-meter fly as well. Wow. Fly on the Janus is doing work. Game number 1, Oboronic played Janus and looked damn good. Game number 3, it's Fly's turn, and he's doing it, man. He's really, really finding the positioning, and the shot through the wall is really what's impressive when you're playing the Janus.
Fly has been the talk of European mid lane for a while now, and everyone's always saying, oh, Fly is incredible. He might be the best player on RvL, all this kind of stuff. And we just haven't seen it from him at LAN. And in game 1, it was a pretty lackluster performance on a signature pick of his, the Raijin. Game 2, he plays great on that Zeus. You know, MVP level performance for sure. This game as well, the Janus has looked pretty good thus far. And this is what you wanted if you're a fan of RvL, is to have 50-meter fly return to form, if you will, and perform how I think a lot of his fans expect.
I like watching Predators in the Afro play aggressive and play into Wolves here. A lot of people and that's what tells me that this is RvL's selection as well. What I mean by that is they're not just blindly following what worked for other teams at LAN, which is an easy way to get yourself into trouble. Play your own game. And this is clear that RvL's practices because Aphrodite, well, she's going to be in trouble right here. Finds a stun at the Layers. She herself gets stunned. Ultimate is available. Finds a back off. Here comes help from the mid lane mage. 50-meter fly shows up. And that's all that Predators needs. And my big point being is that Predator's playing aggressively with this Aphrodite when he can, and I think that's a really key component to playing this character.
Layers loses the beads because of the nice ultimate from Rapio, and if I'm Wolves, I'm building Voidstone. Next item, because Predators is just slightly too tanky for Wolves and Layers to bring down. With a Voidstone that cuts through some of that Heartward Amulet protection and a little bit of extra damage for Wolves, I think we can see lots of kills going Astral's way in that solo lane pretty soon. So Wolves, in my mind, should be rushing that Voidstone.
And here for Team RvL, again, talk about the Aphrodite. She's going to be the hot character of the game. Inbound here. Oh, used the ult to get past the Jing knockup. Nice, nice, nice.
Epic uppercut, a pretty low cooldown, so not a big deal for Inbound to lose that one. And really, the aggression's been on the right-hand side so far. So you think that Bobby will have a little bit of time before he'll need that ultimate again.
I wouldn't mind seeing Predators go into penetration, but I'm sure he'll get a little bit tankier. I want to take my hat off to Rapio, though. Going a very interesting build here. The classic Hunt Batz build, frankly. New itemization for junglers, made some other choices appropriately attractive, but Rapio sticking to the guns, and I think it's the right call here, trying to make the play on the solo lane doggo.
Ultimate up in 3 seconds. That's what Rapio is waiting on. Wolves has his ultimate in response, though, so Rapio doesn't get a jump on him a little bit, and as you mentioned, Wolves sees spots out the monkey, and Rapio knows his opportunity has passed.
Yeah, as soon as Rapio got he got seen, I felt his heart drop, because that was a kill, and he goes, oh, he saw me. There's nothing I can do here. I gotta leave. That was well timed because of the blue buff being up, and everything there was right for Rapio outside of being caught. Wolves, nice positioning, be able to look into the jungle there.
Felt kind of like an episode of Planet Earth. Like the dog sees the monkey, and the monkey's opportunity has passed.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what I mean?
I mean, very rarely, I think, in the wild would the monkey hunt the hyena. But
Probably never. But that monkey doesn't have a big club to use like Batz does. So.
I don't know. There have been some studies where primates do show tool usage, which is a really big deal in primate development.
Sure, but like...
Crows also use tools. One of the few animals that use tools. Left side, Team RvL trying to use their tools to take care of inbound. The taunt being saved, and I like the DineOhSaw. Not just taunting the support in there, waiting for the carries. Nice choice there to save the tool for later.
oBoronic has not been able to play particularly aggressively on the Habwa so far. That bodes pretty well for Team RvL. Fly has been getting his farm very quickly. That's what Janus is supposed to do, is get around the map and farm faster than the enemy mid laner. And Vaporish has pushed Coviiii under tower for the majority of this game. Vaporish with the level advantage, as well as a couple extra points of damage onto the enemy tower in comparison to his, which is looking nice and pristine thus far. But now that Vaporish has that Executioner, whereas Coviii's still sitting on Balanced Blade, still sitting on XE2 basically, you've got an opportunity to now maybe pull the Gold Fury with something like that. Wait for this blue buff to be up. You expect Astral to be on that right-hand side to try and invade onto it, and that could be your opportunity.
Fun fact, Pristine used to be what we called the order side. Gold Fury at half HP, going to be leashed out as Astral Authority show their face. Cupid ultimate is huge, takes care of DineOhSaw. Meanwhile, oBoronic is low, INbowned is low, but oBoronic fights back and takes care of business before he falls.
Oh, double kill just before he wakes up. Bobby falls, but Layers is going to claim a double of his own. Fly in a ton of trouble. Beads won't be enough. A double for Layers as well, and Predators. Excellent for Aphrodite to join the fight early on. When it's only an Afro, not quite as impactful. Astral win the team fight nicely, but DineOhSaw's coming back.
And he's got a little bit of help from his Aphrodite friend this time around. There's Layers going into the ultimate. Pulled 2 players. Big deal here. Big taunt. Ultimate's going to save for the moment, but I think there's too much damage to continue after the fact. Predators in some trouble here. Back off kills. But he does not have the cooldown enough for it. But that's fine. 2 players traded out there, Ryan. I know that looks really bad, but they did their job.
They stopped the Gold Fury from going down, but little surprised that Astral Authority doesn't just go back to Gold Fury after that. I mean, you've got a support to tank it up in Cerberus. You had an ADC that was alive there in Coviiii, and Layers is going to do good objective damage as well with that dodgy. Rapio was up, but he had just respawned. I would have rather seen Astral Authority. I think both these teams have been a little bit too gun-shy around objectives they should have been able to get on the back of team fights. Also got to say, a Spear of Desolation for Hebo here. The idea for oBoronic is that he can just kill Predators where that healing's impactful. Would have much rather seen the Divine Ruin either way. You just have to be able to apply anti-heal in as many ways as possible efficiently. I think this is a greedy decision from oBoronic that could end up costing Astral.
On the other side, I agree with the burst versus Afro. I want to see him burst her down before the healing is actually a problem.
But against things like Sylvanas, that makes sense because it's a heal over time. Raw, it's not in combat. Afro has the ultimate.
Sure, the ultimate is a nice job to get her out of trouble right here. Predator's going to slip right on through. Nice job. Wolves going to zone players out. Gold Fury could be the target, but again, RvL has vision over there thanks to the Oracles. I mean, the ultimate will save you for the moment, but it's really the hot, right? You're looking at the heal over time from the Aphrodite. If you can kill her before the healing is done, right?
Well, it's with Spear of Desolation, you're not going to be doing as much after a heal over time effect has finished. What I mean by that is, if you've got Divine Ruin and the Afro gets her heal off, you're doing more damage than if you had the extra damage and pen from Spear of Desolation anyways, because you're reducing that healing. You're really trying to kill her before she can get the heal off, and her ult won't let you.
Well, Layers of Death gonna look for Vaporish on the back line. Again, the Cupid ult shows up big. Predators falls down, and DineOhSaw does as well. The double kill for Coviiii. Little Boy Love coming up big, 3-0 and 5. 8 out of the 10 kills have included the Cupid, and the Gold Fury goes down.
But 8 of 10 kills have also included Wolves, and he has been instrumental so far for Astral Authority. Again, that ultimate just ends up putting 2 players where they don't want to be for Team RvL. Wolves has controlled this game from minute 1.
There's been a really fun interaction there as well as Vaporish Coast gets in trouble. He's able to find his way out of there, though. Really fun interaction there has been Coviiii dropping the ultimate and then Wolves ulting and picking players up and putting them inside of the ultimate. You were talking about players being able to sprint out of it. Well, Wolves is making a good job of putting them in at the last moment so they can't escape even with that sprint. Again, very rarely should we look at, and this is something that I missed too. I don't mean to, you know, point at you or anything, but very rarely do we look at things in a vacuum. You got to look at them with the whole team. I did not see that interaction earlier with Wolves and Coviiii, and I think that is, I think that's really making the Cupid shine is Wolves showing up and doing the job, because I think you had a good point earlier that Cupid by himself could totally be taken advantage of by the Relics, but Wolves showing up really making an impact, and Coviiii just kind of being that that support hunter, just putting it down.
Wolves and Layers, man. Layers 5-0-3, get 8 of the 10 kills in total for Astral Authority, and he has been an absolute beast so far. And it's whether it's Wolves' ultimate, putting people and grouping them up for that Fields of Love, or it's that Powwow as well. Either one can really do the job and set Coviiii up nicely.
Both of those players that you mentioned, top of the player damage. No surprise there. These guys doing a lot of the heavy lifting. 20 minutes in here, and Astral Authority trying to wrestle control of this one. They're 3,700 gold up, but it doesn't feel like they're in complete control, Ryan.
Afro just always has that, yeah, but factor. Yeah, you're winning now, but come the later stages, how well are you going to be able to do that? Now, Wolves alone is enough to force Rapio back and secure the Pyromancer for Astral Authority. And Predators being down 3 levels now is a really big deal, and this is where I think that Astral can really start to push their lead. Group up and start pushing towers right now before that Rod of Asclepius comes up for Predators, before he's able to get those heals off and make them more impactful. And check out the build from Wolves. No Void Stone like I wanted. Well, hold that thought. Blink in by INbowned. Forces out a couple purification beads for both carries. INbowned will fall for this, but can Astral capitalize?
There's the ultimate coming out from Rapio. INbowned still alive for the moment. He might wake up. DineOhSaw finds the basics. Rapio, on the other hand, knows he's going to go down. Jumps to save the team and gets the kill. 2 for 1 so far. Vapor's Coast able to get out of there. But he's going to be in trouble as he's pulled in, reeled, and killed. Layers of Death takes care of one. Wolves takes care of the other. And a triple kill for LOD.
Man, Layers is playing so well right now. That ultimate, everyone doesn't have purification beads because INbowned got it earlier. And that's the Astral Authority MO right now, is INbowned basically suicides to get as much value as possible out of his own life, and then sets up for Layers and Wolves to come in and be the stars afterwards. Double player damage there for Astral Authority in comparison to RvL, and that tells the story because RvL was on the back foot from the initial engagement, and they never got a chance to really start to be the aggressors there. It was just Astral dictating the pace of that fight from the first moment.
I'm going to disagree with myself real quick. Earlier, I said that the Aphrodite was looking at some of the plays that Afro had done. I said clearly this is a composition that this team has practiced, and I liked that. Now, I do think that they have practiced this, but I also mentioned that it was kind of adapting a different team's play style because it worked doesn't mean that it will work for you. Now, Team RvL have clearly practiced this, but this isn't their play style. So much of what was secured in game number 1, well, hold that thought. DineOhSaw and 50-meter fly coming down here. Big Porch Coast is here as well. Coviiii going to drop the ultimate for safety. So much of what was found in game number 2 and game number 1 was Predators being 700 yards in front of everybody, being the Benji, just being the man that's way out there zoning, and that is exactly what Aphrodite does not do.
Completely agree with you, and that's I was critical of the Nike in game 1 because it felt like it was against Rapio's usual play style. It worked out for the most part that game, but RvL still didn't win. But this is a complete playstyle switch up.
Yeah.
And that's been a problem, for sure.
Fly's going to get picked up, but 3 players surrounding Wolves. Where's the rest of AA? They're on the way. Here comes Astral Authority, and a little bit of shot from 50-meter fly. DineOhSaw is going to be forced into the ultimate, and we'll get out of here. No problem. But with the Defender of Olympus on cooldown.
What I was going to say earlier is that check out Wolves' build. No Void Stone, but Relic Dagger with upgraded Ankh already. He's trying to use as many Cursed Ankhs as he possibly can in the middle of a team fight. And this Relic is, I was talking about Shaman's Ring being underutilized. upgraded Ankh is underutilized. With how many healers starting to see back in the meta, this should be a pickup nearly every game if there's a healer, a dedicated healer on the enemy team, because if they get healed accidentally, or you're just like, okay, I'm gonna heal you to try and keep you alive, Cursed Ankh not only negates a lot of that healing, but also makes that target take more damage for a long period of time. It's not as good against Aphro as it is against gods like Terra and Sylvanas and Ra and Chang'e that are healing numerous people at the same time. Aphro's usually only healing herself and one other member, but even then, it shuts it down so much and makes it much easier to kill the Aphrodite, which is the entire goal when you're playing against an Aphrodite comp, is killing the Aphrodite.
Right now, if I were to find another thing, Team RvL, the Aphrodite works best when there is a hard carry character. Batz is a very interesting god, and I think does have hard carry potential, but not built this way.
It's not Serket.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. It's not the Daji. It's not the Serket. And that's really what I want to see paired up with the Aphro. This just seems like RvL has practiced it, but it's out of their wheelhouse.
They got the answer right, but they didn't show their work properly,
Exactly. Astral Authority getting aggressive here. 10,000 gold up. More like 8. But they're searching for 10. Fire Giant will help them get towards that direction. Knock up good from inbound. And there's a Cupid way down the bottom. And Predators is the prey. Layers of Death putting it on them. And it's a 5-on-4 on the right side lane.
Predators just has no choice in these fights. Just getting obliterated by the dedicated power of Layers and Wolves simultaneously.
I hate this call. I don't just dislike this call. I hate this call. This is not what you do with Batz. Batz is a team fight character. Fear No Evil is one of the best team fight abilities in the game. And because he's over there split pushing, which by the way, his character's not adept at, his team loses the team fight, his team loses the Fire Giant, his team loses the right side Phoenix. That single call from Rapio, I understand they're already down 10K. I'm heated. That is a bad, objectively bad call, and they could hurt RvL. That could take this game out of their hands, Ryan. You don't do that with Batz.
It just doesn't fit what you want. He's not your 1v1 god. He's your team fight sort of assassin. I feel you, man. I do. And now RvL, if they weren't in a bad spot before, are in a horrible spot now. Lose their right side Phoenix. Left tier 1 and tier 2 are going to be made short work of by the rest of Astral Authority, as they can knock these down pretty quickly, go back and spend their gold, and now that 10,000 is actually a tangible number. Before, it was a big lead for Astral, but they hadn't spent a lot of that gold quite yet. It was still in their pockets. It's not really effectively putting them in the lead. Now that they can go back and actually spend it, yikes.
Yeah, this is a, they have liquidated their assets. Now they're ready to strike. 16-6. This is much more reminiscent of North America versus Europe that we've seen in the past. Team RvL, I do think this team is special, but I think they've made a couple of mistakes here in game number 3. With that said, folks, this is a double elimination bracket. So Elevate beat Fable 2-0, which means that Team RvL, should they lose here, will go on to face Fable. And then, of course, the winner of Elevate and the winner of this set will go ahead and play against those guys for the finals. So whoever does lose in this game, keep in mind it is match point for both of these teams. Although the wind is in the sails of Astral Authority's ship right now. Whoever loses does get a second chance against Fable. And that is a positive matchup for both teams, if you ask me. But we'll see how these teams wind up fighting. Don't forget, game number 1, Team RvL. Porsche Ghost fought into this, got the quadra kill. Not the first time in his career either. So this still is here.
Not over yet. Especially with that Aphrodite still on the side of RvL, but they've got a lot of work to do. Layer's gonna blink into the back line. Fear No Evil comes out, trying to put zone everybody away, but it doesn't do a whole lot of damage, whereas Wolves gonna pick up 3, only toss 1, but that 1 will fall. Coviiii finds DineOhSaw, oBoronic will knock down Predators, and now it's only 3 left standing to defend for RvL.
Left side Phoenix is toasted. And Astral Authority 5-on-3 looking for the end. Not even going for the Phoenix, just going right for the big boy. Looking to the end this set with oBoronic there and the Daji. 25-10, that's gonna be game. Astral Authority take game 3 in 28 minutes, and Bobby says he knew it.
Game 3 and the set go to Astral Authority. Not done yet for RvL. They will go up against Fable, as you mentioned, in the lower side bracket and try and redeem themselves. But man, you got to feel like you're kicking yourself if you're on RvL after that game 1.
Yeah.
You're right into your hands. They just barely lose it. Game 2, they look great. They really take it to Astral Authority. But then game 3, that was just wolves and layers from minute 1. And great teams will do that to you, where it'll be really close, everything like that. Really, really close sets, good stuff. And if you make a little bit of a mistake, we will just obliterate you for it. And having the quality of players like Wolves and Layers, RvL just weren't ready for that, it felt like. They went with that strategy of the Aphrodite solo. As I mentioned, they could see that it was good. I don't think they understand why it was good necessarily and what you can pick it into, what you can pick with it, things like that. I think that they lost some of that in translation.
What I really did like, though, out of Astral Authority specifically, was that it seemed like this team had an identity shift. When they were playing with Brochacho, it was Layers of Death, KP, got to go out there and do the hard carrying. Also, Wolves, right? Like, that was the deal. Wolves and Chaotic Purpose were the ones that were just doing the heavy lifting. And here we look towards Astral Authority. We say, okay, things have changed. Oboronic is going to be the guy. But guess what? Still, Astral Authority can play through their old faithfuls. Out comes Wolves and the jungler, and it just looked like everything was totally fine.
It's just a beautiful view whenever you've got like players like that on the right side of the map. It's clear skies.
Everything's like sunny here, and so we're going to toss it over to the desk to break down that incredible set.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Aggro, for breaking down that set for us. Looks like in the end, Astral Authority were able to come away with that game, as now we're going to be seeing them go down to the lower bracket. But talk to me about what happened. I mean, was it as easy as MOR Wolves on the Cerberus? Was it just that simple?
It was a paradise, honestly, for Wolves on the Cerberus. It was against an Aphrodite. They counterpicked themselves. They put this Aphrodite into the Cerberus that has anti-healing within their own kit, that also built into the Pestilence, had the Cursed Ankh relic upgraded, also Dodgy that picked up the Brawlers for Layers of Death, and it was just easy, clean, cut, and dry. That mid-game team fight where Aphrodite rotated early on, that's not the time that RvL wanted to take fights, and recognizing this Astral Authority, forcing a lot of team fights throughout the entire game, really built their momentum.
Well, it is going to be MOR Wolves that is selected as the MVP by Mixer Chat. And based on all of our analysis, even us watching the game back there in the green room, I mean, it seems like you got the right call there, Mixer Chat. I mean, he just had a time for himself, and such a good job synergizing with Layers. I mean, he would get the ultimate from Aphrodite in the solo lane, and then Layers would come in with the Palo to help clean it up. Just all game, they punished this Afro.
You needed to find a way to burn the beads for the Palo? Well, you got Cerberus first pick. That's what they wanted. They banned away Terra on purpose just to make sure that they were going to get that selection for Wolves, or whether or not they wanted to flex it to INbowned. But because they saw that it was Aphrodite solo, it was clean cut that they were going to definitely put Wolves on the Cerberus.
Now, talk to me a little bit about what, I mean, like, it's 10th, it's like last pick, right? This Aphrodite. Cerberus has been on the board forever. I mean, why still go to this pick? What were give me your best thoughts of what they were thinking, why they still went to
it. Was about team fighting. You don't look at Astral's composition whatsoever. You look at just rivals here. You're seeing Janus, Athena, Batz, Jing, and then Aphrodite. So you got the mobility from the Janus. You got peels and engage from Athena.
Yep.
You got crowd control from the Batz, so the Athena and Batz can burn the beads. Jing is a very safe hunter that can transition well in the mid to late game. So for just an individual 5-on-5 team comp, it's good.
Right.
But then you look at Astral's side, Cerberus, it becomes ineffective. The healing is reduced almost to 0% entirely, depending on whether or not the Cursed Ankh is popped, and that makes the pick just so lackluster.
And then I also want to talk a little bit about Rapio on the Unbots pick, because we don't see a ton of Unbots nowadays in the jungle. There's so many strong pressure junglers like Dodgy and Circuit right now, right? And even Rat. I mean, so we don't see that often. Was this the right pick here for this team comp? Because I know what you're saying. The team fight was good, but against this squad, was that the right way to go?
Well, considering he picked it before secondary ban phase, it wasn't like clean cut what the direction of Astral was going to be. But you have Athena and Batz. I don't necessarily mind it too much. I think the way he played it was a little bit just too staggered. He split push at a timing which didn't benefit his teammates. Unfortunately, Fire Giant was stripped away. They got a Phoenix as well. There was no Phoenix in return from Rapio, so his decision-making late game felt like he was in true desperation mode, and that was when they were already behind 10,000 gold. The pick itself is good, but the way Rapio played it did not make it look good.
And they ended up really getting valued throughout the set. It was banned at one point by both teams. Once in game one by Astral, game 2 by RvL. So certainly it's a valued pick between the two, but it just did not end up working. I agree with you in this game 3 matchup. But I mean, certainly we could talk about some of the things that didn't go right for RvL. But how great has oBoronic looked all set long here so far for this Astral squad? I mean, you kind of heard Tom talking about it a little bit. It seems like he's developed into yet another win condition for this team.
And considering he's switching it up from a Habwa into a Janus, it makes him very dangerous now, considering that the next set, they have to wait for the lower bracket to fully finish out there. But they will face out against Elevate later on in tomorrow's games. But specifically, I'm excited to see that mid matchup of North America versus North America.
See how well those strong mid laners end up lining up against each other. But we actually do have an interview standing by with Astral Authority, the winners.
Guys from Astral Authority, Gundy, their coach on the left, and INbowned support. That was a easy game 3, but the set itself was pretty difficult. Is that what you expected from Team Rival?
We expected a good team, but they played really well. Their mid laner, Fly, is one of the hardest mid laners I've ever had to kill. He is always in the exact right spot, and their entire team was they were really good players. Way harder than we thought.
We're going to have plenty of time to talk about your successes. But so let's talk about that game number 2. Didn't really go your way. Fly stepped it up on the Zeus. I mean, it's an odd pick, the Zeus. Was it more the player or the pick that kind of threw you guys off?
I think it had a little bit more to do with our pick. The Nox isn't like really a Boronic god. That's why the 3rd game we threw him on the Hebo so he could just straight up carry. We didn't have the damage. Prez was zoning our backline pretty well, and that he would just ult the Nox combo, and Boronic was getting half held by it, couldn't do anything.
Were you guys surprised that the Predators went to the Aphrodite in game 3? It seemed like you guys were ready for it. I mean, Cerberus was the pick there for sure.
We knew it. As soon as we locked in the we picked the Cerb, and I honestly, me specifically, did not expect the Aphrodite, considering how bad that matchup is, but we knew it was kind of like a pocket pick for him.
We saw you, and we mentioned it a number of times on the cast, Bobby, INbowned. Your way of initiating is kind of just, you kind of dangle yourself out there as bait and let the team respond. Is that something that you could do immediately with this team, or did it take a little while for the players to sort of catch on?
Oh, our first couple scrims, I looked like a really poor player. I died, I don't know, 50 times through 3 games. Like, they just never followed up. It was a little frustrating to start out, but they caught on pretty fast, and it's better. It's way better now.
That game 1 was really back and forth. I mean, that was RvL on the offensive most of that game. What was the team atmosphere like during that game 1, and how did you manage to stay in it mentally and make the comeback?
Game 1, we fell behind. We kind of expected to fall behind because we knew they had a little bit better of an early game, and we kind of just gave it up. But as soon as we kind of fell behind towards the mid game and started like really falling behind, I personally tried to like step up and like make sure they kept calm, and like our comm stayed there, kept meshing beads, actives, everything, and just try to like make sure they all stayed like mentally ready to like for a team fight.
Last question before we let you guys go. You're headed up against Elevate next. Gundy, how do you plan on preparing the boys for this next matchup?
We played them a lot in the past. We basically play them every finals week of SCS coming into LAN, so we know a lot of what they play. Probably going to draft a little bit more pressure if we could. Obviously, that's what's working for us after the last game, so we'll see. They're a good team. We're a good team.
Krim's not getting Uller either.
Yeah,
so.
Krim won't get Uller. He can beg and plead, but he won't get the god.
All right, guys, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. We'll let you guys go. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice. Good stuff, guys. Thank you.